We know that in Japan, Amazon is still, like, even within Japan, it's the biggest online marketplace. Very few people speak English. I mean, less than 30%. Something to be aware of, that it doesn't work to just bring your English listings to Japan. They have an appreciation for Western goods and culture. So if you have like an established Western brand, you have an upper hand compared to like other maybe Asian brands. And then of course you can get ahead of your competitors. So those who are not aware of this opportunity, and let's say you have like 5 competitors in the US, the biggest ones, and none of them is selling in Japan, this would be another like green flag for you to say, okay, so I can be the first one and establish my business here and expand.
Hello and welcome to Seller Assistant Talks. I'm Oleg Kuzmenko, a founder of Seller Assistant, our tool designed for searching and analyzing products for online arbitrage and wholesale on Amazon. We help thousands of sellers to run and grow their business on Amazon. In this podcast, we dive into the world of selling on Amazon. We share insights, tips, and strategies to help you succeed. We bring in industry experts, successful sellers, and partners to share their knowledge and experience with you. In this episode, we are going to talk about expanding your Amazon business to Japan. Our guest is Dano Falk, the founder of DevDevice. DevDevice is a marketing agency based in Kuala Lumpur. They focused on helping Western brands to expand their Amazon business to Japan. If you find this topic interesting, hit the like button right now and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our new videos. Hi Dana, thank you for joining me today, and let's dive right into your presentation.
Okay, let's do it. This is about the lucrative potential of selling on Amazon Japan, right? So we're going to cover like the culture, opportunities, challenges, and the roadmap. Just a quick note about myself. So I've been in the entrepreneur business for many, many years now. I'm the founder of DevDevice, and I sold my business, my Amazon private label business, in 2019. After that, I'm focusing with my agency to help other Amazon sellers. So let's have a look at the Japanese culture, which is obviously quite different from what we're familiar with. There's this idea of etiquette and respect, like people bow in front of each other. There's this group harmony, so they call it VAR. So it's like the group is more important than the individual. They have a bunch of ceremonies of like very minimalistic, like very pure cultural ceremonies. There are this concept of saving face and so forth. So where, before you insult someone, you better keep your mouth shut, this kind of thing. So it can make things a bit complicated in the communication, but it is kind of their way to be kind and friendly, and rather not say something that could be rude. Seasonal appreciation and so forth. So there's a lot of stuff in Japan, like anime. You can see a lot of these anime images even on e-commerce listings. So it's part of their world to have this anime characters going on. The biggest challenge, I would say, is the language, because it is just very different. There are 4 different scripts, kanji, hiragana, katakana, and English. And all these things can come together if they write something. And it is kind of a preference, like how you write it. And most things can be written in many different ways. For example, the word Tokyo can be written in these 3 ways here. So, as a Westerner, you would never guess that these 3 words actually all mean the same thing, which becomes relevant when we talk about keyword research and, how you define your search terms and your keywords for your listings. Public holidays are very different. For example, like Christmas is not a big thing. So they have their hierarchy of holidays is on this list here. So it's quite different from what we know in the West. That's sort of the funny part for me was there's no such thing as Christmas. Although I hear some people do celebrate it, but it's a waste of time to like start big Christmas holiday promotions when you're selling on Amazon. Some numbers about Japan, especially like how it compares to the US, which I think gives you a good idea, like, how is Japan relating to the US? So we have the population, which is like very significant. Number 12 worldwide, by the way. US is number 3. We have disposable income, GDP per capita. Very few people speak English. I mean, less than 30%, something to be aware of, that it's doesn't work to just bring your English listings to Japan. Most people won't be able to read it. Ethnic groups in Japan is 98% Japanese, which sounds funny, but if you look at the US, the ethnic groups in the US are very, very diverse. In Japan, they are very kind of homogenic. Average age is a bit more than in the US. The largest city, Tokyo, is double the size of New York, and Amazon users, and that's the reason why we're talking here, is quite significant, is number 4 on the planet. If we look at other marketplaces in the US, of course, we have Amazon, eBay, Walmart, Craigslist, Etsy, and all that. In Japan, it looks very different. But the good thing is Amazon is still number 1. But then we have Rakuten, Yahoo Shopping, and other things that we have probably not have been dealing with so much. But it doesn't really matter. But we know that in Japan, Amazon is still, like, even within Japan, it's the biggest online marketplace. So let's just dive into the opportunities here. I mean, the obvious one is the marketplace size, which I mentioned already. GDP per capita, the cultural affinity to online shopping, because people like to shop online. They are very online savvy. And they are not like 10 years behind or something. They are very active or shopping online. They have an appreciation for Western goods and culture. So if you have like an established Western brand, you have an upper hand compared to like other maybe Asian brands, because they do appreciate like Western culture in this context. Proximity to China, to me, is one of the biggest one. If your products are being manufactured in China, your shipping time and cost will be a fraction of what you are used to. Not even to speak of all this tariff stuff. So let's see what's coming our way there. But yeah, it's you can save a lot of time and money in the shipping area. Reviews from US listings can be simply transferred to your Japan listing. So you don't have to start from scratch and give away units for wine reviews and all that. So it's very straightforward to just duplicate your listing in terms of reviews, but then you can still localize it. I mean, there is a way to kind of still create Japanese content for your existing listing. So it will be basically the same listing, the same ASIN, but it will have Japanese content. And then, of course, you can get ahead of your competitors. So those who are not aware of this opportunity, let's say you have like 5 competitors in the US, the biggest ones, and none of them is selling in Japan, is something that we also like look at in our marketplace analysis. This would be another like green flag for you to say, okay, so I can be the first one and establish my business here and expand. This slide here kind of brings across the density of content that Japanese people are used to. So the whole visual culture can be very different. And of course, we have to reflect this. The language barriers and the culture, we have to reflect this in our listings. So how we do the keyword research, how we do the listing copy, and how we create the infographics, all this has to kind of reflect the Japanese preferences and their culture. We have to be aware of importing regulations. So there are a lot of products which are gated, which you need to certify them. And depends on the product category. It will take like between 1 and 2 months typically to get certified, but basically everything that is food related, touches the body, goes in the body, will need to be certified. Driving external traffic can also be a challenge, something to be aware of. It's when we have our Amazon account in the US, where we typically have a brand store, and then we have some social media presence, and all these things are pretty straightforward, and we all know how to do this. In Japan, first of all, we have to cross the language barrier. Our content needs to be in Japanese, and the social media world is a bit different. So Facebook is not that big. The biggest social media platform is called Line, something that Western people have never heard of. But there's also like TikTok and Instagram. So there is a bit of a common ground, but we have to be aware of the different structure of what happens off Amazon. Other things to consider would be the trademark approval. So we need to register with a local Japanese authority called PLATPAT. we have to appoint an importer of record. This has changed like a few months ago. Now they call it importer. So it's a company on the ground who would take in your goods and who would do the customs clearance and who would technically buy your products actually. But of course, you have a deal with them that then they send it to Amazon FBA, and everything that's happening in the FBA part is very similar to what's happening in the US. It's basically no different from what we are used to. So you simply send your stuff to the FBA warehouse. Your seller account is in English, so you don't have to learn Japanese to run your seller account. And everything that's happening in your Japanese seller account will be very, very similar to what you know from the US. So you don't have to learn from scratch how to run a seller account. Another thing to consider is your inserts and your if you have a complex product, it would make a lot of sense to have a translated version of your manuals so people can actually understand how to use it. The quick overview of the roadmap. So the first thing is to evaluate what is the opportunity. This is something we help with to do the market research to identify what does your competition look like in Japan, who's selling, what price, how many reviews, who of your existing US competitors are selling. So that is a very good thing to do, but you can do this yourself. I mean, Amazon Japan works in English as well, so you can use English search terms to do some very simple research and see what's showing up for your main keyword. It's everybody can do that. The next step in the roadmap would be import regulations. So we have to be really clear if your products need to be certified or not. Then we will check if your trademark is available to register, but this is most of the time is not an issue. And then to get started, we will define this importer of record. So your 3PL, your logistics partner in Japan who would receive your goods and do the customs clearance. We can optionally also use a 3PL partner, but we work very closely with the company who does all this, who does everything logistics, importing related. So it's all in one hand. Then next thing is to create your listings, to create the Japanese version of your listings, send inventory, set up PPC campaigns. And then as an option, we can also start working on off Amazon presence. So what we typically do is take care of all this seller account related stuff, like creating the listings, running PPC campaigns, doing customer support in Japanese, so everything. So we can basically run your Japan account hands-free. And we work together with our local logistics partner to do all the shipping. And if you need more information, you can simply reach out to me, dano@devdevice.com, or you can check out devdevice.com/Japan. This is where you find more information about our service. And the QR code explains itself. That's all from my side for now. So if you have any questions, Oleg, go ahead.
Yeah, so you told me that your customers don't need have any company located in Japan, just expand their business and find local importer who import your goods, and that's it. And also you told me that the taxes, sales taxes threshold is very high, so you need to worry about that.
I mean, you can't start selling without having this Japanese tax number, and it only becomes relevant after you reach a certain threshold of yearly sales. Then you become then you have to create your Japanese tax number and pay 10% tax. But the threshold, if I'm not mistaken, is 10 million yen per year. So only if you reach this sales threshold, then you will kind of have to go to the next step. But there's not so much pressure. This whole process will take normally around 2 years. So during the first 2 years, you don't really have to worry about sales tax so much.
Thank you so much, Dano, for joining us today. It's been a pleasure to discuss this topic with you. I believe you answered all my questions, and now everything is clear on how to expand your business on Amazon Japan. And you know what to do and how to reach down and follow all the links in the description. You also can leave a comment and Dano will answer it. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for having me, Oleg. Thank you.